Okay, when you find a size, you just have to stop. It drives everybody nuts for you move it around a lot. I know you're trying to get the best focus, but when you get a focus, just leave it. Yeah, yeah. People jump around a lot.
Okay.
Is this screen at the downstairs? Because I have the cam on.
Yeah, but don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
It'll work.
It's
I
the
see.
same thing. You just don't have the front page.
Okay.
Maria's coming on. She just said that she was anyway. That door won't shut, so. Is there somebody at the door? Is there somebody at the door?
Yeah, they're on the floors. They're parking.
Okay. We had trouble shutting the door, locking that door locking yesterday, so I had to kind of keep it open.
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on it now. Every time it shuts, we go fix it.
How do you get it shut?
It's tilting a little bit to the right, bottom down, so I pick up the,
Well, why don't we tighten up the hinge then?
yes.
So welcome everybody to the 7th class of theory program. We're going to start the reading. Thank you, Elise.
Freedom to program. So you think you can do that consciously. In some cases, during the 8 or so possible hours of the special states of consciousness achievable with the help of LSD 25, the use of visually projected images to aid in seeing the nature of one's own defense, evasive and idealization mechanisms can be realized. By means of a mirror for the careful inspection of the body in the external reality, the whole body or the face alone, it is possible to induce a special state of consciousness or a special program or metaprogram in the use of perception circuitry, in which remembered or unconsciously stored images of self or of others appear on or in place of the body image.
Scroll it up, please.
Such stored images can be selected within certain limits, manipulated within other limits, or allowed to occur in a free association context, appearing as parallels of the current thought system. The
Stream.
thought stream. The orders to self for the appearance of these phenomena may resemble the post-hypnotic suggestion instructions given during auto-hypnosis. The metaprogrammic instructions to a very large computer for a certain type of display program with special content or to be displayed, and the orders to a large organization to produce a play with many actors operating in one place in space, one after the other, each with an assigned role not necessarily specified in detail.
Well, can anybody tell me what the lady in the beginning looks like? I mean, do you know what's going on with the lady, and why is the red part circled? Who's son? Can anybody tell me? What's going on in the red part, in the circle? You guys you have the picture of the lady? No, okay, I'm sorry, you don't have that one. So you guys start at what, the camel?
Yeah.
Okay. Did anybody see the camel? See what was it actually, see that part of the camel when you were looking at the picture of the drawing? You do see what it is, right?
Yeah. It's a man.
Yes, it is. And it's a rather virile man, is it not? Yes, okay. Well, you see, that's a program that's going on below the level of awareness that everybody says doesn't exist. So let's start with that, can we? It does exist. When you look at that picture of the camel, you see that guy, whether you register it or not. And if you're a guy, you're just thinking, well, that's how I look when I smoke a camel. You're going to be smoking camels if you like smoking. So the thing that I'm trying to get you guys to look at here is that a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight are things that take place in a realm of the thinking machinery that does not include consciousness. Do you understand that? Okay.
That's what brands do with marketing.
Yes, they do. We'll show you lots of it here as we go through this tonight. But and there's a book from the 70s called, Christ, what is the name of it? That a lot of this comes out of. I'll get it for you, Lori, and show you later. Okay, it's a, but I copied a lot of these things out of that book. It's
Okay.
what is it called? Subliminal Seduction is the name of the book. In other words, what this book is showing is how advertising takes stuff with it.
Okay.
Okay. So the thing is this, is that you can go through this whole thing by you can begin to look at this, because underneath all of your thoughts is your self-image. If you were to stand in front of a mirror and you altered your state of consciousness sufficiently, whether it was through hypnosis or through ayahuasca or through cocaine or through beer or whatever the hell it is, you melt your butter. If you get to that place and you start looking into yourself at that place, you'll see a face in your body. You know, the boobies will be eyes, and your umbilical cord will be like your nose, and what's on below the umbilical cord will be like the mouth or the tongue or whatever. And you can flex around a little bit if you want to, and or change the meaning of what's on that face. Now, it's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just something that's there. We all do it all the time, whether we're aware of it or not. We also do the same thing with the actual face, because the face that we see is not necessarily the face that exists there. I don't know if you've ever seen this or not, but a guy and a girl that are dating, let's say, and the girl gets all pissy about something, and then what happens? She turns to the guy, and her face doesn't look pissy anymore. Her face looks like, oh, sweetness and light. What? Look, it's me. Miss Sexy. That happens all the time. We don't see that though, because we don't see that when that girl turns around and looks at us, that's what she's doing. She doesn't see it either, because none of that takes place at the level of consciousness. So let's see, go on ahead. Let's go on some more here.
For periods of 30 or so minutes of objective time, such projections can be maintained and worked with in a self-analysis context. At the end of this time interval, some fatigue is noted with subsequent stopping of the display. Re-evocation can be achieved by a period of rest from this and similar tasks for a period of 15 minutes objective time. Several such periods can be evoked during a single session.
Well, Lilia here is talking about the sessions of a within an acid trip. But he's talking about the acid that he used to be able to get that was pure acid back in the days of Lilly and Leary and that whole bunch. That's no longer the case, actually. The acid that you get now is a little different than that. It's not as trippy, let's say. So the idea, though, is not about that. The idea is that you do these things whether you're aware of it or not. You cycle back and forth between those kinds of things, even when you're talking with people. To be able to hold a conversation that goes on for more than 15 minutes is very difficult for folks. Because you have to cycle through with them. You have to give them 15 minutes, let them rest a little bit, come back for 15 minutes, and you can do that several times. You can do that over the course of 2 or 3 hours, maybe. But if you talk to them straight across that 2 or 3 hours, they're going to get tired and not be able to pay attention well. That's one of the reasons why I do these classes in this length of time, so that you have to pay attention to at longer periods of time, because your other than conscious part is paying attention, not your conscious part. I'm not even entertaining your conscious part, except every now and then to appease the reason when you guys start to ask me questions that have nothing to do with what I'm talking about. Okay, go ahead.
Areas of unconsciously operating taboos, denials, and inhibitions are revealed, in negative as it were, by the absence of appearance of the consciously desired and ordered projections in certain areas. Areas of unconscious elaboration show us projections of great detail and completeness, even though no real remembered reality could possibly correspond to the projection. Screen memories, Burton, Lewin et al., show in great profusion.
Check, check, check,
Check,
check.
check.
There we go. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, areas of unconsciously operating taboos, denials, and inhibitions are revealed in negative, as it were, by the absence of of appearances of the consciously desired or ordered projections in certain areas. Let me share with you a secret that I use all of the time that none of you will pay attention to. Never have, never will. I understand that you're not going to. I'm going to tell you anyway, because this is the reason for the class, is to tell you this. How's that? The reason why I can ask you questions about why it is that you're not in agreement about something is because you consciously say, I want this thing. And what happens in reality is not that thing, it's something else. And so I said, okay, I'll always stop and say, okay, tell me why are the agreements off? And you guys are saying, it's not off. What do you mean it's off? Why are you saying such a terrible thing to me? Don't we?
It's off.
Because it's not there. That's right. And what it is there's an operating taboo, denial, or inhibition that's unconscious to you. Honest to God. Now, you can believe that or you can disbelieve it. And so when I ask you about that and you say, I was really doing this other thing. Don't mind if I say, shut the fuck up and don't bother me with your lies. Really, don't be surprised if I say that. Because that's an evasion, you see, what you're telling me right there. It's not really something that's real. And so I've got to draw your attention to the unreality of that thing. And so if I say, you know, that's not real, guess what you guys are going to say? Yes, it is. And if I say no, you'll say yes. I'll say, is not. You'll say is to, is not, is to. And you'll never change your mind. If I say, the fucker the hell you doing that for? Why do I have to come back and tell you this again? Maybe you'll get pissed off enough with me for treating you that way that you'll get interlocked with it and go walking down the street saying, why do I talking to me? I'll show him my why did you say that to me? You've never done that, have you, Vince?
I've been lying.
Okay, the reason why I can ask you that is because I have to observe that unconscious inhibition, taboo, and denial in your life. Don't you? Or would you just like to pretend it's not there? That's a good idea, don't you think so? We just pretend it's not there. How's that? Well, maybe not. Okay. So areas of unconscious elaboration show as projections of great detail and completeness, even though no real remembered reality could possibly correspond to the projection. In other words, you sit and you think about things and your unconscious does all of the thinking, and you come together and you say, okay, here, let me write this out for you and explain it all out, all of the details. That's a result of unconscious competence. The first one is a result of unconscious incompetence. The two ends of a scale. In between is unconscious incompetence and conscious competence. But the unconscious incompetence is more acceptable than the conscious competence. Have you ever thought about that one?
Mhm.
Really? I don't think so. Okay. What, I'm sorry, you gotta say that louder, not loud enough.
So the competence and incompetence, so what exactly do you have as?
Okay, look, the best thing you can do is be unconsciously competent. To work things out without ever having to stop and think about it. We all do that. You don't decide things, you actually work things out unconsciously. Consciousness cannot claim that. Even if it wants to, it can't do it. It can't come along and say, yeah, I thought about that and I figured out what I should do. I mean, we all say that. It's still a lie. It's not really true. We did figure it out, but we didn't do it consciously. We didn't sit and say, well, 1 + 1 is 2, and so therefore 2 + 2 is 4, right? We don't do that. We don't go through all those calculations. It happens unconsciously. That's the best that there is. When we sit and figure it all out like that, we're as dumb as a box of rocks. We can't be any dumber. Why on earth would we spend all of our time thinking about something consciously when our unconscious does it for us? And if it doesn't do it for us, then we need to train it through making mistakes unconsciously. Oh, I can't do that. I can't be wrong. You already are wrong when you say that. You're already a fuck up when you say that to yourself. Well, don't mind me. Go ahead and fuck up. I don't care. It's fine with me. I'm just telling you that it's available if you want it. Doesn't cost you anything. Okay, you want to go on and read some? Oh, wait a minute. As the buried behind the screen is uncovered, the screen memory disappears. In other words, look, when you start getting to the place where you're not remembering all the wonderful and awful things that you've done, and why you're doing this thing or that thing, and what it is that you're offended with, and so forth, then your unconscious competence is beginning to work properly. But as long as you're holding on to, I've been offended by this and offended by that, and oh my goodness, I've hurt and I can't face myself about any of those things because it was done to moi. That's the computer screen. That's the buried that's that screened memory kind of thing. Okay, go ahead, read some more. Oh, the flowers underneath there. Does anybody see the word in the flowers?
Yes.
No, you don't see it. Vince, do you see the word in the flowers? Anybody see the word in the flowers?
I do.
Oh, yeah, you do. You've done
Of
this
course I
before.
would.
It says sex. In the leaves of the flowers, it
I
says.
see it. I I see it.
You
This
finally
is,
saw it, huh? Okay, guess what? You saw it the moment that you saw the picture. What you just showed me was precisely what it's saying up here. You showed me an unconsciously operating taboo, denial, or inhibition. You just told me that sex was that for you. Wasn't that fun? Want to do it again? Okay, go ahead, Elise.
An apparent defensive maneuver is a flickering images phenomenon. The new images come at such a rapid rate, 2 or 3 per objective second, like a slow flickering movie, that one cannot inspect any one image long enough to recognize its significance. Another alleged evasion is the melting or mosaic or distortion maneuver, in which images flow in whole or plastically, or are broken up into parts like a mosaic, are interchanged among several stored images at different levels. The melting mosaic or distortion, of course, can be programmed of itself under direct orders. It is only considered an invasion when it is not under the control of the cell.
Yeah, huh. Well, an apparent defensive maneuver, huh? Think about this. What are we defending from when it is that we say, oh, I don't know, I just can't concentrate on that right now? Is that a series of flickering images that you just can't determine what's going on? Well, of course it is. How about another one? How about another alleged evasion is the melting or mosaic or distortion maneuver in which images flow in whole or physically, et cetera, et cetera. Here, let's take a look at this from this perspective. So Elise, what is it you're thinking about with this thing that you're talking to this other person about that you got them all pissed off over? Well, I was thinking about I was going to help them out because I was going to do this thing over here. And what is that? So that's the mosaic moving to something else, to something else, to something else. I'm not asking about that, Elise. Come back and talk to me about the thing I'm asking about.
That's such fun.
Vince, if you put air in the tire, it isn't flat any longer. I put air in, I could hear it coming out. Of course, you bent the rim. But I did it right. Okay. I don't care whether you did it right or not. What I care about is that you learn from your mistakes. Are you going to learn from that? No, you're telling me you did it right. So I'll tell you what, how about you pay for doing it right now? Oh, I see. There's that denial and so forth right there, isn't it? Oh yeah, that's what you paid that right there. Let's just freeze and don't talk, huh? What a good idea. Okay. No, it's all right. Don't worry about it. I don't want you to do that, okay?
What would it be like? How would, actually, you should fill up the tire, check the vehicle beforehand, just kind of keep it all in order right away.
Okay, look, here's the thing. Are you controlling this or is the programming controlling this?
Program.
Then that's called an evasion. I don't care what else you want to name it. It's called an evasion and when we talk about it, okay? That's called an evasion, period. If programming is controlling it, it's an evasion. If you're doing it on purpose, it's something else. That's what it says right here, right? It's only considered an evasion when it's not under the control of the cell. Anybody home?
Yeah, there's somebody here.
You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you understand?
Mhm.
Yeah? Okay. I doubt it, but okay. I'll believe you when I see it. How's that? Okay, the current effect in its modulation.
The current effect in its modulation by conscious wishing is immediately shown on the facial expressions of the projection, despite a lack of change in the objective face itself, proprioceptively, photographically, etc., detected. The projected face and the real face fit together in 3 dimensions. It's almost as if the perception systems were using the real face and recomputing it to give a different appearance. Namely, if the real face is held neutral, then the projected face will manipulate the apparent features of the real face with accurate showing of anger, joy, sexual desire, hatred, jealousy, pleasure, pain, fear, psychic mutilation of ego, adoration of self, and several other such emotions. These have been studied by their mirror projections.
We don't do any of that stuff, though, do we? When we're talking to people, we don't project what we think they're saying on them, do we?
All the time.
You do that?
Yes,
Oh, heavens to Betsy. Tell me it's not true.
it's true.
My
It's like-
gracious sakes, you mean we project what we think the other person's feeling on their face?
Yes.
Well, how can we do that? That doesn't seem to be very honest, does it?
No.
Oh, so we're a bunch of liars? Is that what you're saying about us people? That's what I'm saying about us. We do that. And not only that, we do it to protect ourselves. We do it as a defensive maneuver to protect our rightness. Isn't that a strange thing to protect? We know already that we're fucking up, that this rightness that we're claiming isn't correct. But yet we defend ourselves, we defend the rightness that we already think that we have, even though we know that's not true. I don't understand, guys, but that's what we do, right? Yeah, in other words, don't feel bad about it. Everybody does it. Okay, it's a pandemic apparently, but it's not something that we have to suffer with. I mean, we don't even have to get vaccinated to do anything about it. We just have to change your mind. But excuse me for asking to change your mind. I mean, you might not be who you are, right? Or you might actually be who you are if you changed your mind, right? Rather than insisting that you know who you are, rather than just expressing who you are. Wow, that would be what a concept if that were really true, huh? Don't worry about it, though. I'm just making this up. It's not really true, okay? You can pretend as though it's not, it's fine. It won't hurt anything at all, except you. I don't mind. I know I'm an ass, but I don't mind. Okay. Conflicts can be projected. What is that? Next to-
The current effect and its
Yeah.
modulation
Yeah.
by conscious wishing.
No. I think we're down. Conflicts can be projected in several ways.
Conflicts can be projected in several ways. The images switch rapidly back and forth between the 2 conflicting categories: emotions, orders, persons, ideals, or other.
Keep going.
Alternately, parts, disparate parts of the internalized argument are projected side by side, giving a peculiar stereoscopic depth conflict appearance to the display. Profound fatigue shows by showing aged or diseased splotchy images.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't apply to anybody that I know. But let's just pretend it does for a second here. And if it did, what would it look like? Here's the thing. When I hear you guys arguing about stuff, you will jump from one subject to another subject to another subject in rapid succession. You'll say things like, well, I know that I'm right because, and not only that, so-and-so did, and not only that, the moon's in green cheese and not, there's not, that's what, and you know, and besides the cow jumped over it. So there. Doesn't make any sense, does it? But yet when I listen to what you're saying, when you're arguing, that's what what happens for you, okay? That's not a good thing or a bad thing again. It's just simply something that we all do. You should be aware of that, because if you're not aware of it, in other words, if you're not doing that on purpose, then you're evading what's actually real around you. And that could be a dangerous thing. I mean, fortunately, we don't have very many saber-toothed tigers anymore. But there are autobuses and down the street here. I saw a couple today. They're buses right down the street and they're monsters. They don't stop for anything at all, except when they have to. And only then when they take on food and water or something. That's the only reason they stop. To digest something or to eliminate it, because they suck people in and they spit people out. Suck them in the front, spit them out in the back. They're monsters, those autobuses. And they scare me because you're a pancake, just ironed right out. No wrinkles, nothing. Better than Botox, really. Quicker, but you can't enjoy it for very long. It's painful. So the thing is that we have these things that we ignore, like the monsters, and we say, oh my, we don't have to ignore, we don't have to be frightened by those monsters that we have in our lives, whether they're autobuses or whether they're daddies or whether they're memories or their self-images. All those are monsters. And they're all scary to us. We don't like to look at those because they might show us a reality that we're not paying attention to. Oh my, that would be awful, huh?
So how to look at this reality?
Well, you just stop evading whatever you're hearing, right? You look at your own evasions. You just stop and say, okay, look, I have to stop and think about why I'm pretending like this is a problem when it isn't really. And you got to start being honest with yourself about what's really problems, what isn't. Okay? You can solve many of your problems, but you have to actually wrestle with it to do it. You have to acknowledge that it is a problem before you can solve it. Don't you think so? Okay. All right, what else we got there?
The negative operations which prevent certain contents reaching access to the display mechanism can be shown to exist by using alternate acceptable to the ego ideal routes to the display program and its projection. For example, material which cannot be projected onto one's own mirror image sometimes can be projected onto a color picture of someone else. In some cases, the other person in that picture is most suitably and acceptably for the opposite sex, face alone, full body clothed or unclothed, for the full use of the display of the desired material.
Yes, this is an interesting one here, because we all deny we do it. But what is it saying here? The negative operations which prevent certain contents from reaching to the display mechanism can be shown to exist by using alternative, except as the ego alternate ideal routes to the display program and its projection. Now think about this. If I want to talk to a guy so that he actually understands about something, I can say, you know what? Women often do this thing that you're accusing that you do. Did you know that? And the guy will say, I don't do that. You say, well, right there, watch there, that girl right there, she's doing that right now. And the guy will say, yeah, look at that, she's doing that. Now, do I do that so that the girl feels bad, or I do that so the guy learns something? For the guy to learn something, because he can project his negative, what does it say here? Negative operations which prevent him to see certain things and displaying it about himself, if he can see it in a woman instead. Or I can pick on a guy that's less than him and do the same thing. But it's better for a girl, although guys work the same. For girls, that you use guys. If I want to talk to a girl about something, the best way to talk to her about it is to use a guy as an example. Oh, you guys don't pay attention to these things. I'm being manipulative, but you don't do that when you evade, right? That's so cute. You guys are really amazing. You are. Okay. You got to pay attention to this stuff, guys. You just got to pay attention to it because that's how you communicate things, because it's that you've got to talk to people about things that they can't see about themselves. That's what we do here at the tank office. Well, that's what I do. I don't know if anybody else, I've never known anybody else to do that actually, but I do it. Some of you get so scared that you don't dare to do it. Like you just, I'm not big enough. Don't make me do that. Jesus won't love me no more. I got news for you. He don't love you now. Anybody understand what that hot dog's there? You know why it is that that Oscar Mayer hot dog gets sold as much as it does yet? You know that this particular hot dog shot with the ketchup doing this thing is in every Oscar Mayer advertisement that there is for hot dogs. Everyone, they got to show this shot. Somewhere or the other, they got to make that happen. Why is that? Anybody got any idea about why it is that sells hot dogs? First of all, who buys the hot dog, mom or dad, or the kids? Mom buys hot dogs, doesn't she? Yeah. Why would mom want to buy a hot dog like that? Sex sells. That's it. There, mom. What are you doing with that ketchup there, girlfriend? That's a strange looking thing there. And you know that ketchup is not being squirted out; it's being poured out like a tongue, isn't it? Wow, the very idea. Okay, in the proper circumstances,
A properly selected real person can also serve as the external reality three-dimensional screen onto which material can be projected. This latter screen is not a passive one and may say or do something on its own which either changes the projection or evokes a new program, such as the demanding external reality program, which may abolish the whole phenomenon of projection in the visual display itself.
keep going.
When one sees a visual projection onto the face of another person of, say, one's true deeper feelings, the realization may come that this happens to one all the time below the levels of awareness without the special powers attributable to this substance. Namely, there is an already prepared unconscious display, which is here allowed access to the visual mechanism by the special conditions, which normally operates in the external reality program with other persons unconsciously or preconsciously. This first time finding can have therapeutic benefits in the consequent self-analysis of one's human relations.
Yes. My goodness gracious, is this an amazing idea here? You can have this three-dimensional screen that means somebody that somebody else is dealing with, right? That's what you can do. Huh? I know we want it to boil so we can we can steam those rolls. Are you want to go check that? Okay. All right. Let me get back to this right here. You think you ever get into an argument with a particular person like mom or dad or your sister or your Uncle Harry or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or whatever, and you select that person as a three-dimensional screen onto which material can be projected, and you get to talking to them and you don't know that who you're talking to is your mommy or your daddy. That never happens to anybody, does it? I can assure you that it does. Not only that, I can assure you that when I stop somebody and say, you know, I'm not your daddy, that whole thing just evaporates right then. It's gone. It's like somebody popped that bubble because they did. Because what happens is I have to make you right there pay attention to external reality. And it's a very demanding meta program, not the projection that you're putting onto me or onto whomever. A lot of people do that, you know. It's a common thing that people do. They're not good or bad, they just do it. That's it. That's the only thing it is. They just do that. And so the thing is that we can either do we have one of two things at that moment. Okay, whichever one, it doesn't make any difference. We do one of two things. One thing that we do is that we say, okay, you're not my daddy. Or, up, you're not my mommy. Or we can say, how dare you talk to me that way? And that's a defense. It's a defense for a threat. It's a fight program coming up over a threat. What's the threat? That somebody's talking to you about your projection? The other day I saw a picture, a little quick video of my grandson Luke. And what grandson Luke was doing was he was saying la 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 la, trying to sing or something, until he noticed that his mom was recording him. And then he stopped. And he went, he's about a year and a half now. Now, the thing is that we still all do that. So if somebody says, I see you projecting stuff there, we'll all say, no, I'm not, nope, not me, I'm not doing it. You off over there in your daydream? Nope, nope, not me, I'm not doing that, nope, We do it though. So, when one sees visual projection on the face of another person, say one's true deeper feelings, the realization may come that this happens to one all the time below the levels of awareness without the special powers attributed to this substance. In other words, look, we are always projecting our true feelings on somebody else. You see somebody as a threat? Your true feeling is that you're afraid or you're threatened. You angry with them? Why? Why do you carry that anger around? You're afraid of them? Why? Why do you carry that fear around? What for? What are you going to? What are you winning with that? I mean, I don't care that you can do it as much as you want to. It doesn't make any difference to me. Does it to you? Do you mind that something other than yourself is running your show? I don't mind. Do you? It's okay if you do. It's okay if you don't. I don't care one way or the other. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just pointing out one thing, that you're either in control of it or some program from back in the day is in control of it. Now, for me, you being in control of it seems to be a better idea than some program from back in the day. Now, that's just to me, maybe. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, you know, the first time you really begin to understand that you project your feelings on other people, it can be really therapeutic. I mean, just knowing that that happens, it can really change how your attitude about a lot of things. Once you realize that what you're doing is talking to somebody in your past, not to somebody that's here now, that can be really educational even. It's a very important idea to consider. Elise is going to steam some stuff at the moment, so I'm going to read this next part here for you. One interesting kind of projection onto the image of one's own whole body or onto the real body of another is the phenomenon of self-creation of the corporal face in this phenomenon. One sees a face of a monstrous being whose projected features are made up of the following real body parts. The real shoulders become the top of the head, the nipples and the auroras become the eyes, with female protuses, navel and nares, pubes to mouth, and with male penis to lingua, or to tongue. This face, though quite vacuous of itself, can be made quite frightening, sad, or happy with proper programming. Once seen, it is easily programmed even with extreme body position changes. Analysis shows in this particular case that this face is a storage from a very young and childhood, and was resulted from fantasies about bodies, male and female, threatening and seductive. This projection is useful as a tracer of certain kinds of fears. In other words, guys, look, these images that he's talking about here, like the whole body image, is something that exists in all of us. It happens. We all do it. So, not a big thing, not a bad thing. It's just that something we do. That's it. We can do it whether or not we're conscious of it, and we do it whether or not we're conscious of it, and we do it with everybody. Doesn't make any difference what kind of strange, I mean, they can play twist them and you can still see it. If anybody's interested, you can check out the faces. There are 11 faces in that picture, the next picture down there. See if you can find them all. You'd be surprised at what you'll call a face sometimes, but you make them all up. Some of them are really obvious and some of them not so. But if you look at them carefully, you'll find them all. Most of them are pretty obvious, though. They're made to be seen. Okay, the external reality screens for the projection of the display program in the LSD state thus can be arranged in a set with various dimensions relating to each of the others. Among these are the non-self real persons, motion pictures of these persons in various states, still pictures of the persons, pictures of self from the past, motions and still, three-dimensional and flat, the here and now dimensional color images of one's face and or body in a mirror. And finally, the eyes open, the eyes closed, blank, unlighted, and lighted projection screen. Did you know in the tank when it's completely dark that what you see is different with your eyes open than what you see with your eyes closed? Go figure. It just is. I don't know why. You have to figure that out for yourself, but it's possible to do. The blank projections screen, introspectively considered, varies depending on whether the eyes are open or closed. In the dark or in the absolute dark, one can detect differences between the eyes open and the eyes closed blank screen. The eyes open case gives a feeling of depth out beyond the eyes, a feeling of real visual space. In this subject, the eyes closed immediately turns the vision to a different visual space, which seems more internal, more introspective, more subjective. And in the LSD 25 state, those differences are attenuated in the profound isolation conditions. That's not really a very important part unless you stop and think about, gee, do we talk to people with their eyes open? Vince, do you talk to people with your eyes open, or when you talk to people, do you close your eyes?
I seem to have an idea of like I'm talking about what I'm thinking.
So your eyes are open or closed is the only question that's on the table here. So you're evading me. Closed. Was that hard? Was it scary or anything? Was it frightening somehow? Okay. So it wasn't. So you didn't really need to project anything on that, right?
No.
Okay. So think about this. Your eyes are open and yet you projected something. Earth events. Come on, please. Come on back. Come on, respond there. Come on.
So eyes are open.
Your eyes are open, yet you were projecting something. Do you think you do that a lot?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. You know, the problem with that is that that's not a conscious thing. It's a conscious fuck up. You're being consciously incompetent with that. Why don't you fix it so that you're consciously competent? It doesn't cost anything. It's free. All it is a decision, really. Just it's thought. That's all it is. You don't even have to lift weights or feel the burn and none of that kind of stuff. It's just an idea. I'm just saying. You don't mind me though, okay? I'm just pointing out that's a fact. Fair enough? Okay. We all do that. You understand? All of us do that. It's something that we do. We project when we open our eyes, when we see with somebody talking to us, when they say something that we don't like, we do like, whatever. We project whatever our feelings are on that person. We do. It takes a fair amount of discipline not to do it. Okay, let's see what
Right.
else we got here. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, can I say an example? For me, happened with a woman with power, like my clients or older ladies with a position higher in my work. I see them, wow, that we are doing this like my mother. So when I ask for something to them, they normally say no. And I say, okay, no, because I kind of asking for permission to them.
Yes, but see, darling, that's not really true, is it?
No, it's not true.
Okay, so that's an acceptable to the ego limitation. In other words, you're so proud of who you are that you're saying, okay, I have a limitation here, so I can be this bitchy little girl from Mexico.
Yeah, good girl. So
no,
if
no.
they say no, mhm,
No, excuse me. When they say no, which you've already projected, you've already said it in such a way, they're gonna say, you can say, aha, see what you are, you nasty person? You smell like money.
yeah, but the thing is like, I cannot ask for money to them.
Yes, you can. That's
Yeah.
a projection of your ego, girlfriend.
Okay.
It is a projection, and it's not something that's actually real. You're saying how important you are. I cannot ask for money. I shall not stoop so low as to ask for money, even if it's owed to me. I shan't do such a thing. You will read my mind, or you will not hear from me again, and you'll
Yeah.
steal from me fairly. So
I want your
there.
money.
Then ask for it and quit making up all these silly excuses. Really.
Yeah, they are excuses.
Carmen, I love you, but you're gonna have to ask for money, girlfriend.
But I ask like, can I have money, please?
I know, I've heard you in action, okay? You can't do that. You say, hey, yo, chick, where the fuck's my
I want
money,
your
babe?
money. Yeah.
Hey, up front with my bucks, underly.
Yeah.
You just tell them, bud.
Okay.
Okay, do you understand this one? The blank screen is the most difficult one to work with, but it is least driving of the group. The blank screen interferes with, at least with one's creative efforts. It takes more program circuitry to create those aspects which can be furnished by the other screens themselves from the perception mechanisms directly into the projection program itself. So in other words, it's really it's easier for us to project on a living person than it is on a blank screen. It's less work. That's what he's saying. So what we do is we project our inquietudes on somebody else, right? The things that we're not very comfortable with, what we do is we project them on someone else. We say, oh, I don't like what you are doing. I think that you should do this or that. I heard somebody say the other day even, I think that girl should not wear shorts. She should wear long dresses because her legs are too skinny. Or was it they're too fat? I can't remember which one. It's the same story though, isn't it? Who the hell has the right to tell somebody that? It's not their legs.
So, John, when someone reacted to that, someone blaming me for something when I reacting or defending me, I mean, I'm projecting my screen too.
Yep, you are. Okay, that's what we were talking about with Sandy and her dad, right? In other words, they're projecting a fear that they have. I don't have the fear. What? That's their problem, not yours and not mine. It's not, hell, nobody else has that fear out there in the world except them. And they can say how righteous their fear is that they wish to, but it's not going to change the fact that it's a fear that they're projecting on everybody around them. It's a fact. So I have to keep my word with Sandy. I have to keep my word with you. I have to keep my word with Maritza, with Vince, with Phoenix, with Elise, with these people that's on the call. The people that'll be on the call next on Thursday. Those are the people I have to keep my word with. I've given them my word. So therefore I have to keep it. I can't allow these projections to get in my way. Theirs or mine. I have to be a grown man with this, CC. Don't you think so? Okay. The blank screen does not easily show the forbidden transitions except by remaining blank. More relaxation and freedom to free associate with this visual mode is required to project on a blank screen. At times, a cross model synthetic projection may help with the blank screen excitation coming in and objective hearing mechanisms to be converted to excite visual projection. The commonest excitation used here is music. This well-organized pattern input tends to drive the content by association. For instance, religious music can evoke visions constructed in childhood from real pictures, churches, fantasies. Other inputs are other inputs. Come on, be still. Other inputs are voices, one's own real or recorded voice, the voice of another person. These sources can have problems similar to those with pictures. The high priority programs we are calling the external reality program may tend to usurp search and take over from the projection program with the pictures or voices of known or valued persons. This effect interrupts the projections and its free association. In the long run, the external reality's content and its connections with it can be shown to be relevant by continuous self-analysis using the visual techniques of psychoanalysts. Look, you guys don't think about this ever. I mean, it's an unconscious competent thing, so it's not something that you're going to think about really. So here's where it's at. So you can pay attention to this really. You ready? Here goes. When I first learned about agreement and the functions, I learned it from a guy named Eugene Albright, who would sit who did a class. He did a 3-hour class, and he would talk about those things. And this is the How are all of you tonight? In a moment, I want you to find a comfortable position, and we're going to go deeper. 5, 4, going deeper now. 3, 2, deeper and deeper. 1, I'm going to now make a sound with my fingers, and you will be in a deeper, more healthy state of mind. Voice modulation will take you right down to alpha just like that. It'll even take you down to delta just like that. Did you know that? Why not? Yep. If you think from that frequency, you'll speak from that frequency. If you slow down to alpha, that was an alpha introduction to an alpha program, by the way. And if you think about it from there, you'll go into alpha. If you go into alpha, you'll speak from alpha. If you think about beliefs, you'll talk about beliefs, and you'll drive people down to a belief level. Yep, happens all the time. Of course, I don't ever do that myself. I don't know anything about it. I just heard about it once in the radio.
What happens when someone stuck in alpha with someone who's stuck in delta?
Well, they don't talk to each other. There's no communication taking place. That's what's going on. But you see, the thing is I don't mind if somebody's talking in alpha, because I'm not talking to them about their alpha programs. I'm only talking to them about their beliefs, and they'll either talk to me about that or they won't. I don't give a damn which one it is, dude. But I have a job to do, you see, and my job is to make sure that I talk to them from their belief structure, from my belief structure. That would be a communication of information. That would be an actual communication and actual information from one mind to another. If we can agree on what we believe is real, that's an agreement, isn't it? Of course, if that's too difficult to understand, I got it, so don't worry about it. We can talk about it another time, perhaps, if we would like to ignore it. That's what people usually do, right? I don't need no sticking agreement. I've decided what I'm going to do myself. I don't need any agreement from anybody because I'm smarter than the whole world. That's the attitude that we actually have, isn't it? Of course it is. Don't worry about it. Such interruptions depend upon the individual computer and its conflicts in relation with the projection program versus the external reality program. If there is a guilt or fear present, the external sources will attract the energy of the computer back to the external reality. Say what? Here, let's see if we can do this. So you're talking to me about something and you're saying, I am going to do this thing my way. Why would you do that? Well, because I want to. Okay, why do you want to? Well, why are you asking me? Because I'd like to understand what you're talking about. Well, it's none of your damn business. Okay. Bye. You don't need a relationship? Me neither. Especially not with you. Why would I want to waste my time with that? I mean, really? Why would I want to waste my time there? I'm looking for somebody who can say, who's big enough to say, you know what? I want to hear what you have to say too, because you know, two heads are better than one, even if one's a cabbage head. That's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in the rest of it. I'm interested in people who can talk to me, can reply to me from what they believe is real. I'm interested in people who can talk to other people from that perspective. If they can't, then why are they in the tank office? What are they hanging out for? Because you see, you can't do programming consciously. You can only do it other than consciously, which means that you got to get consciousness out of all the programming. And for you people who are listening in on the internet here, that's actually true for you too. In other words, if the level of excitation from the person in the external reality rises above a certain value, the whole computer will be turned to that particular person and his or her vocal output and his or her behaviors. So if you're making excuses for something and I say, the fuck are you doing that for? Then you're going to pay attention to what I'm saying. Because I'm going to excite the reality in which you're living at the moment. Does that work, Elise? No, it doesn't. You've never had that happen, huh?
Oh, that happened often.
So it doesn't work though. Say what? Oh, okay. How about you? Where are you? Yeah, great. I'm glad to hear that you're on page 10 and you're here. What are we talking about here, Vince? Give me an example from your recent personal history. I'm sorry? You weren't paying attention? Yeah, okay. You see, that's the thing. You were paying attention, but now that program is in there and you don't know where it's what it's related to, but it's going to run you. You like that? Do you like that or not? Well, you know, gee, I'm sorry. You should pay attention then, right? So that doesn't happen, right? Oh, you mean like all the time? You mean you have to be aware of what you're being programmed with?
Yes, all the time.
Oh my. So when nice little girls come up from downstairs and they say, hi, Vince, listen, I was scared. So you gotta kiss them, make them better, right? Oh, nice little boys come up and say they were scared. You have to kiss them, make them better then? Or see, this is the question though, right? How do you deal with this? Do you make them all feel better or do you say, no, you weren't?
Yeah,
No, what were you scared of?
yeah.
See, that's the thing. No, everybody's afraid to ask that question. Really? How come? What if they're not scared of anything at all? What if by asking them if there's what they're scared of, they're going to attenuate the fear completely? Okay, purely random noise may avoid these difficulties. It may be a proper acoustic lighted black screen for cross-model excitation of the visual projections. Initial experiments with in-phase and non-phase noise in 2 ears show some new programming possibilities. Last Thursday, when Maritza and I were talking about this in the Spanish language class, we used an illustration of something that happened between us a long time ago. We had a guy here that was just could not ever face himself. And he was trying to trying to put fiberglass in the tanks, took forever. I kept telling, I kept asking, when are you gonna be done with this? He said, 2 weeks. 2 weeks lasted for like 4 months. And we never got to the end of 2 weeks in that whole 4 months. And so finally I said, enough, get out of here. But the thing is that Maritza would try to explain it to him by being a good mom. And the thing is that when she did that and I was growly, what happened was that he had to hear because the two ideas were out of phase. She said the same thing I said, that she said it in her way and I said it in my way. So the two ideas were out of phase. But guess what? Because they were out of phase, he could hear it. If I just said it or if she just said it, he couldn't. We see that same thing with Vincent, don't we? If I say to Vincent, I want you to go down to the store and get this thing and so forth. He'll go to the store and he'll call me back and say, what was the thing you wanted me to get? Right? Okay. If Maritza gets on the phone and says, it's this, go find it, it's over there. He'll say, oh, okay. And he'll come back with it. Because Maritza's saying it out of phase with how I'm saying it. If you said the same thing, it'd be a different effect. If Phoenix said it, or if Elise said it, it'd be a different thing. But we'd all have to be saying the same thing so Vince could hear it. If that's about going to the store, I wonder what it's like about programming. You think you can actually see your programming? Or is it so unconscious and you're so unconsciously incompetent that you can't really see it? If that's the case, do you want to change that, or do you like living with that kind of chaos in your life? I don't mind. If you like it, it's fine with me.
That's third-party substantiation.
Well, in one way it is, yes, because you have to have that in order to be able to do something or to know something, right? And that includes the things that you hide from yourself. Don't you think so? Okay, so yes, that's a third-party substantiation from that perspective. Although knowledge is knowledge, we think about it just a little differently. But yes, that's the same concept. Okay, go ahead, Elise.
One pitfall here, however, is to avoid the initial problem of the programming by the random processes of the noise itself. This tends to result in chaotic programming, namely randomness itself can build up to a large intensity within the meta programming system.
Right. You know, every time that you start a program, every single time, you draw a blueprint for that first program that you write. Beginning of the day, the beginning of a week, the beginning of an event, the beginning of anything, you're writing a blueprint for how that thing's going to come out. It's modifiable because the as-built is always different than the blueprint, but it's still something that you have to pay attention to, that you write the blueprint and you say, this is the habit I'm going to establish of how I'm going to address this issue. That happens with all of us. We all do that. It's part of programming itself. It's what's happening from the brain hackers or memory hackers video is that we're growing a new synapse. Okay, we grow a new synapse and we say, okay, this is the thing that we're learning how to do here. But that also includes the memory of the chaos that's surrounding the event. If we allow the chaos to overpower the event, how do we do that? Well, if I say, well, I don't want you to argue this thing here. I want you to pay attention to this thing. And you say, why do you always tell me I have to listen to what you say? You can't tell me that. Well, excuse my ass all the hell and back. Why are you upset? I'm not telling you that. I'm asking you if you have thought about it or not. I don't give a damn. Do you? So why is it you're evading with all this smoke and mirrors and thunder and lightning and so forth that you're raining down on me here? What's that about? It isn't what you're saying. That's a projection. And the thing is that you're allowing the chaos to overwrite the program because you're developing the chaos. Remember the first time we talked with you about arrogance? You went through a whole series of dance moves, right? Lasted a couple of weeks actually. Okay, that was all the chaos, and it's like you had to work through all the chaos that was around that in order to get down to where it was. Now, and to your credit, you did that, right? Took you a little bit of time, but you got down to it and you figured it out. Okay, you're still working on it, I understand, but you got 99% of it out of the way, pretty much, right? Okay. Vince, do you understand that same thing as it applies to you in terms of how it is that you pay attention to what people are talking to you about, right? If you keep adjusting that and keep making it better, like keep paying it more careful attention, then you fix that chaos that's always there.
Yeah, every time we have a conversation, talk about what's actually happening, and slowly keep just clearing out the clutter of all the different things that happen.
Right, because you're really not on that street corner anymore, right? Okay, even though it feels that way, you still, even though that's the habit, you're not there.
Right.
So you have to fix it every time that it comes up, right? Every time that fuck, I'm not on this corner.
Right.
What the hell am I doing back on this corner here? Yeah, I'm not there. Okay.
Every time I'm about to do something, I'm like,
Right, right. For you, do you understand this idea that what you absolutely have to do is you have to get the chaos out of your surrender program, because you got to surrender to reality, not to Mr. Wilbur. Okay, you've actually got to surrender to a real thing. Doesn't make any difference what the real thing is, but you got to give up to real. That's a major difficulty. Okay, what else we got here?
With adjustment of the acoustic intensity of the two non-phase related noises, these effects can be attenuated and the noisily lighted visual screen used for proper projection purposes. Only preliminary experiments have been done in this region as yet.
Well, I've done more than the preliminary experiments with this a little bit here. And I can tell you for sure that if at first you don't succeed, get a little more intense and you will. And excitation is a result, intensity is an exciting concept, okay? And excitation causes interlock. So if you can get somebody excited enough to interlock with a particular issue or a particular idea, what will occur is that they will think about that idea and it will be attenuated somewhat simply because it's being remembered in a new place. Okay, that's the whole idea with it. If it's attenuated, then it doesn't run the same way the next time. If it's attenuated the second time, it won't run the same way the next time either. Same way as any other memory. Okay, zero level external reality. What are we talking about here?
When sufficient progress with the external reality progression screens of the various kinds, visual, acoustic, to visual, synthetic, synesthetic, body image, and others, the elimination or at least maximal attenuation of all modes of simulation from the external reality allows deeper direct penetration into the unconscious. The rationale here is that more circuitry in one's huge computer is freed up from the external excitation programs, and hence more can be devoted to the internal cognitive reality and its analysis. The projection program is still used, but in a somewhat different way.
Yeah. Look, we only have one computer, right? And it only has so many circuits that are available at any given time. That's just the nature of the beast. Who knows what that's about? However, there are lots of ways of, let's say, finding more space in that computer, finding more circuitry. One of the ways is to get in the tank and to float and to actually examine the stuff he's talking about. Because you have a lot more circuitry available when you're in the tank. You have visual circuitry available, you have acoustic circuit available, you have feeling available, you have body temperature, you have body sensations, you have muscle balance, all this kind of stuff that's available because it's not being used in the tank. It just isn't. And it's not going to sit there twiddling its thumbs. It's going to do something because it always does. Okay, but it doesn't do it consciously. It does it other than consciously. It does it what we normally call unconsciously, although that's a misnomer. It's other than conscious. It's just not conscious. That's it. That's it. That's the whole definition, not conscious. There are other ways of doing that. One of the other things, one of the other pieces that we've talked about already is that there's this concept of learning how to learn. In other words, when you learn to meta program, you're learning how to learn. And so rather than going through all of the apps that you have, you write the app that you want for the moment. That's learning how to learn. You hear musicians do this, right? They make up riffs as they go along. They may go back and play the same riff over and over and over. They're boring, but you hear somebody that really is thinking about the music. They play a new riff when they get to that place. They you know, I feel this differently tonight. For instance, if you listen to how Henry plays any given song, he doesn't play the riffs the same way every time. He changes it every time. It's always something new in his thinking, because because of this thing right here. He's got more cognitive ability. He's not thinking about the notes. He's not thinking about the chord changes. He's not thinking about whether or not he knows this song. He's not thinking about the backing track. He's thinking about expressing what he feels at the moment. That's what we're all trying to do, isn't it? That's what we all do in reality. You understand that, right? That's what all of us are doing, is that we're expressing our musical song, our musical story, no matter what we do. And we're either doing it with new riffs that we play every time that we do it, or we're doing the same old, and we're boring as hell. Because we're in our ruts, we're not using our creativity, we're using our habits.
Like using our natural mind.
The natural mind, yes, the natural mind is precisely the idea here. Yes, it is. Because you want to do something, you want to put yourself in an unknown position, right? You want to start down a riff that you didn't, that wasn't the first note that I usually play here. Once you play that other note, you're going to play a different riff, aren't you? That's being here in the present. That's not trying to, oh, I did it wrong. No, you're adjusting right now. You're saying, okay, my unconscious competence is actually working for me. It always is, if we can allow it. But we can't allow it if we continually live in the chaos, can we? That's what this part is about, really, is removing the chaos from the programming. Okay. Okay, like in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, everything's just cool. Okay, go ahead.
In the maximally attenuated environment, 92 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, isothermal skin, saltwater suspension, zero light levels, near zero sound levels, without clothes, without wall or floor contacts, in solitude, in remote isolation for several hours. The addition of LSD 25 allows one to see that all the previous experiences with outside screens are evasions of deeper penetration of self, and hence are screens in the sense of blocking the view behind, as well as receiving the projected images.
Yeah, this is a fun one here. Here's the thing, guys. We get in this place and we say, all right, what are we doing here? We're getting in the tank and we're taking some ayahuasca. We're taking a ecstasy, whatever the hell we're taking. Okay, we're going to jump in the tank. We're going to have a new experience because it's a different thing. And so you get in there and you have that different thing going on. You say, well, yeah, look at this. I got this different thing going on, and so what's happening here? And what really takes place is this idea that we have these internal screens. This is particularly true about sex. In the tank operators program that we do, the first thing that I have people do when they come down here, pretty much, is I take them over to a sex store and I say, It does, I don't care what it costs, get it. You know why I do that? Because I want to see behind their sex screen. I want to see what's really back behind there, because they don't know why they bought it. Really, they don't know. They think they decided, they think, oh, this was cheap. They thought, oh, well, this is something I can use when I go home. Or, oh, this thing over here, or that thing over there, whatever that is, right? But what they're going to do, really, what they're actually going to do is they're going to show you what they're actually thinking unconsciously. That's really true. So if I can see what's they're hiding unconsciously in that particular realm, because you see at the back of that sex room where they talk about sex, oh, mother doesn't think I should do that. Oh, I'm not one of those kinds of girls. Oh, I'm a macho man. That's what I am. Whatever the deal is. Okay, I don't give a damn. Whatever your kink is fine with me. I'm not trying to tell you what's good or bad. Everybody's kink is good. I don't mind. What I'm trying to get you to see is that behind that kink is probably something that's actually real. It's an actual real thing. And I'd like to see what that is so that you can see it. I don't give a damn. But if you give a damn, you're not going to see who you are. So what is it that you fantasize about? What is it you really want to do? Go to the sex store and find out, and then look at what the hell did you actually buy? And why did you buy it? And don't tell me you bought it because you liked it, or that you liked the color, or because you've always wanted one. Why was that unconsciously competent thing that you did there present? I don't give a damn. You find out. It's your business. It's not mine. I don't give a damn. So these outside screens, mother told me I can't do that. I'm a good girl. I'm a bad girl. I'm a good boy. I'm an honorable guy. I'm a macho motherfucker. Whatever the hell the thing is, I don't give a damn. Whatever that is that you're using, it's a screen. It's what you think you should believe. I wish you didn't think you had to believe that. You don't. So if you can change it, it'd be worthwhile to you, I'll bet. But you ought to find out for yourself if it's worthwhile. What's the next one? The definition of evasion of an analyst of meta programs. My goodness.
In using the term evasion, it is meant to imply a similar concept to defensive maneuvers or defenses of the psychoanalytic literature. However, in addition to the content of these concepts, evasion is defined as any program or metaprogram entered upon to avoid, to hide, or to distort a deeper program or metaprogram, which is too seductive or too threatening or too chaotic for the self-programmer at that particular time.
Yeah. Here's a real question for folks on this one. We have these meta programs that we use. You've offended me is a great one. I'm mad because you said that thing. How dare you say that about moi? And what is that really? What it actually is a distorted program so that we don't go any deeper than that. Nobody's offended you because they said this or that. You're not mad because somebody said this or that. You don't give a damn. You're just using that as an excuse to argue with them. That's what I do. When I do that shit, that's what I'm doing. Don't you? Of course you do. I got it. Who gives a damn? Everybody does it. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's a thing that we do. That's all. And so because of that, we have to understand that the reason why we do it is that there's 3 good reasons for it. It's too chaotic, too threatening, or it's too seductive. The idea is too attractive. It's too confusing for us that we can't understand it, or it's just too much of a threat. This is one that I can show you pretty easily. I don't know anybody that really, that starts off in these programming classes. I've never met anybody that said, oh, I see. In other words, I have to pick agreements with other people, what they want. No, nobody ever does that. They always say, oh, okay, I see. So people have to agree with me for me to make this thing real, right? What's the difference in those two thoughts? One of them is only about me and there's no agreement at all. The other one says that I have to talk with other people in order to know what it is that I actually want or what is actually possible. Isn't that strange? I want you to agree with me that I'm right. Well, what a silly cow you are. How about agreeing because it's the right thing to do? That's the best solution. It's the right thing. If you're right, then everybody's going to agree with you. If you're not, then no one's going to agree with you. So why don't you have a fit and fall in it because nobody agrees with you? That's probably going to work, don't you think so? Me either. Go ahead, Elise.
At the beginning, in the profound isolation, many people experience a fear, which is almost disembodied fear with no reference in the external reality. With experience, this fear can be shown to be a fear of one's own inner unknowns. After a thorough exploration of the various evasion metaprograms, it can be shown that the only thing to fear in this area is fear itself. In overwhelming amounts, with sufficient training, it can be shown that one can convert the motivational sign of the experienced emotion from negative to positive. As to whether or not one must go through some of the negative emoting in order to experience enough of the punishing aspects to avoid them is a moot point. A great deal of self-discipline is required in this instance to pursue the negatively tinged programs and metaprograms stored in memory. At times, one can detect an almost hedonistic withdrawal from further consideration of unpleasant events and memories.
Yeah, this is another one of those lily thoughts here, isn't it? The biggest thing that we get, the biggest reason for us to evade stuff is because we're afraid. But it's always curious about what we're afraid of. That's always the curious part. And so let's take a quick peek at what we're afraid of, really. Because you see, all we have to do is we have to change the motivational sign from negative to positive on any of the stuff. That's all it's required. That's a thought. That's not any. You don't have to go see Jesus or Buddha or Shinto. No one. We don't have to go see anybody. Muhammad. Nobody. We don't have to do any of that stuff. All we have to do is just change our mind. That's the only thing that's required here. However, in order to do that, you've got to kind of get to this place of going through some of those negative things and looking at them. Like, for instance, you were having to do today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're looking at some places where you're saying, oh my God, I wasn't aware of what a rude little bitch I was being.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
and you weren't.
Yep.
Yeah,
I had to have it
it never
cleaned up.
dawned on you that that's what was going on. The people would see you that way, right?
Right.
Okay, but yet there it is.
Yeah.
Okay. That, are you a good girl or a bad girl? Neither one.
No.
You're a person doing person things. That's all. That's what's going on.
Mhm.
And so it requires a great deal of self-discipline to change that negatively tinged program and metaprogram in the stored memory so that you can make it positive. Now, have seen people that sometimes when they get to that place where they have to choose, they'll say, fuck it, I will not choose. You can't make me. I will be an asshole if I want to be. And I have to agree with them. Don't you think so? Why would I want to argue with somebody who's saying that they're going to be an asshole if they want to be? Because that's a hedonistic concept about who I am and what I am. I'm not going to address this issue. I'd rather not address it. It's my business. It's my private affairs. The only thing is that you're affecting everybody with your private affairs. And you don't have that right. It's just that one little hitch in the get along. Other than that, you're absolutely correct. And guess what? You know, if you don't want to get along with anybody, well, what the hell, I'll agree with you not to get along with anybody. It's fine. I don't mind. Who cares? If you don't care, why should I? I don't damn. I do it. You never saw that. I've agreed with you about that for years, huh?
Oh, you've always agreed with me.
Of course. Why wouldn't I agree with you about it?
There's no reason not to, because.
Because, well, there is a reason not to. That's for you to just say, oh, wait a second, that's a mistake. But you're not gonna do that, right? I mean, the very idea of you saying it was a mistake and coming down off of it and saying, oh, wait a minute. I was really an ass right there. God damn, I never saw that. You're not gonna do that, are you? Oh, you gotta think about it, do you?
I saw it
When did you see it, kid?
this afternoon when we were talking about Marissa and where she was. I knew, I realized I was making a mistake in how I was thinking about her and about what she was doing.
Yes, you're a bad girl. You're a bad
It was a
girl.
mistake. That's
Pardon?
all. It was only a mistake.
No, it wasn't a mistake. It was a hedonistic refusal to deal with anything real. You still haven't apologized to the girl, have you?
Have multiple times.
Yeah, okay. I'm good. You got it straight with her then? Okay. What else you got there? These evasions?
Mhm. These evasions into pleasure are also evasions of further self-analysis. As one clears up more and more areas of unpleasant programs and meta-programs, the increasing amounts of pleasurable programming and meta-programming and their control can become a very seductive evasion of one's ideal of self-analysis.
Yeah. See, what happens is this, is that you kind of get this place where you can say, okay, you know what? I'm really smart. I'm really doing this well. I really got this all under control here. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing and so forth. And then what are you going to do immediately after you come to that conclusion? Huh?
Stop.
Well, that's not what people do though, is it?
So,
What they do right then is they say, aha, I can do what I want now. I'm confident in myself and I understand. And so what they do is they go ahead and make the same mistake they always made. They get all high and mighty and they say they can do that. They know things that they don't really know, right?
Mhm.
Okay. And so that's a very seductive evasion of one's ideal of self-analysis, because it feels as though that you're being very positive. You're going into pleasure and you're doing a pleasurable thing and you're saying, okay, I now am controlling my life. Right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I
The problem is
experienced
that you're
that.
not really. The problem is that this hedonistic idea over here of saying, oh, I'm going to be, it's okay. You know, this, see, I'm really okay with this thing. I think I can do this really. Even though doing it, it's just an absolute total fuck up, you're still going to deny that that's what it is, right? I mean, yes, that's what we all do. Don't misunderstand. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's what we
We
do.
all do.
Okay, that's all. It's we just do that. Okay? Go on. What else we got? At this point,
It is at this point that too frequent exposure to these conditions must be avoided. Long periods of interlock with the external reality must be then done. Then be done. Sometimes this may necessitate months of outside work to integrate one's findings with the real world as one has chosen to live in it.
yeah, this is something that we don't pay attention to much is that we get in, it's like you guys come down here to the tank office, right? And you say, okay, here we are at the tank office and we're really so happy that we're learning these things. We're learning how these things take place and ourselves, and we can see these evasions and we just, oh, feel so sexy and alive and on top of it all, right? Okay, and we don't pay attention that we need to, that what we're doing is we're running into the real world. You don't think about it that way, do you? You think that the real world is back there in New Jersey, and you think this over here is not the real world, right? Yeah, huh?
That's a mistake.
No, it's not a mistake. It's a common
Common thing.
perception, okay?
Okay.
The real world is not back in New Jersey. The real world is actually here because what we're doing here is we're talking to people about what they really believe. We don't care what they really believe, but we're just talking to them about that. Do you do that back in New Jersey? Pardon?
No,
Why not?
because I'm I'm running away when I'm back in New Jersey.
Because of what?
Because I run away when I go back to New Jersey.
Ah, so that's an evasion, huh?
Mhm.
I see. So it takes months of you being back in New Jersey in order to figure out what it was that you learned here. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. It's like,
Okay,
Yeah.
so you got to go back to the fantasy in order to learn that the reality exists.
mhm. I
Wow,
actually
that's
do.
cool.
It's weird, but yeah.
Okay, I mean, I don't give a damn. I mean,
Otherwise you don't see
you can
it.
call either one of them a fantasy. I don't really give a damn. But are you aware of what's going on for you there? And if you're not, why not? You should be. Okay, so the easily evoked pleasure of the LSD state may become,
For some persons, a major goal. To make sure that one does not get seduced by this induced state of pleasure, it is wise to avoid further experiments for several weeks or several months and reassert the natural access to pleasure in one's external reality. The external reality struggle to obtain pleasure from the environment has rules of its own, which must be met realistically and with intelligence and balance. Here it is obvious that discipline in a self-meta programmer is absolutely essential. For progress in self-analysis cannot be made without self-discipline.
well, my. You got to be careful that you're not seduced by this state of pleasure. I talked with so-and-so and I felt as though that they really agreed that they were going to that they were going to become a member. I really thought that they agreed that they were going to change this behavior, that they were going to do this thing that I thought that I was talking about, right? You do that? Anybody do that? Of course you do. We all do that. That's what we all do all the time. Is that we project this, what it's all about here. We project on the other person this concept that we have in our mind about what that we think they're saying to us. And what's really going on is that we're projecting that their facial expression so that we can interpret what we wish to from their words, because we also change the auditory part of what they're saying so that it sounds correct to us and our ego. We'll even complete sentences for people that are not really saying. We'll change what is. Well, you said that we wanted this thing. I've heard that hundreds of times. And I've never said such a thing. I don't really care about those things. I would never ask anybody to do that thing they're asked. They told me I wanted them to do. Why would I ever do such a thing? What the hell would for? They're doing it because they want to, not because I want them to. And if they're not doing, if they think they're because I want them to, they're sadly mistaken. I don't give a damn. She argued with me about that one for years. She may still argue with me about that. Why would I care what you do? You're going to do what you want to anyway. So what difference does it make if I care about what you do? None. If you're doing it, you're doing it because you want to, or you're not doing it because you don't want to. That's the point. Do you know why you're doing or not doing it? Or is that a reaction? Is that an impulsive reaction, or is that something you've thought about? I mean, either way, it's the same to me. I don't have to live with you. I have to live with me. So you have to be honest with yourself. I don't care what you do. I just don't give a damn. It's up to you. If you like what you're doing, great, keep doing it. If it's stupid, then it's stupid. Who cares? If it's bright, it's bright. Who cares? Whatever you do with it. So what we're all trying to do is we're trying to get pleasure out of the external reality. That's what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to get to a place where the external reality is pleasurable to us. So that our interaction in the external reality is pleasurable to us. Why do we like sunsets? Because it's pleasurable. Why do we like to see hummingbirds? Because it's pleasurable. Why do we like to see bright colors? Because it's pleasurable. Why do we like to have good food? Because it's pleasurable. Why do we like to have sex? Because it's pleasurable. Why do we listen to certain kinds of music? Because it's pleasurable. Isn't that awful? Well, what else we got here, Elise?
With this caution, let us return to the profound isolation situation. In the zero level external reality situation, the use of any external reality screens can be defined as a defensive maneuver to avoid visualizing or experiencing what one fears most in the deeper levels of one's computer, namely in the unconscious. The use of the screens are necessary and useful steps on the way in, and are useful steps to return to for confirmation at later times of the findings. An apparently paradoxical situation thus exists in the profound physical isolation situation. One is pursuing self-analysis and access to the keys to pleasure within one's self and keys to lessening the pain and fear in oneself.
Yeah, that's the problem with floating. You see, you get in the tank and you say, okay, I'm gonna adjust this program, and we reprogram it again and again and again and again. We don't stop this, and when we get out of the external, out of the tank, do something different. We do the same thing again. We don't stop and say, okay, well, how can I do this differently? We just say, oh, this is what I'm doing. Oh, look, I figured out what I'm doing. It feels so good to know what I'm doing finally. Did it work? No, it didn't work. It never works, but now I know why. Are you doing something different? Oh, I can't. No, fuck you then. You can't. Well, what a shame that you can't. I think that you can anytime that you decide to. It's a thought, for the love of Christ. Change your mind. How hard can that be? If it ain't working, then do something else. Duh. I could have thought of that. Jesus, why didn't you tell me that before, dude? I would have been a dumb fuck for 20 years. Ah. What else we got over there, Elise?
However, once one has unlocked the pleasure and attenuated the pain, one must use the resulting released energies and attach them somehow to the external reality programs and the ideals, super self meta programs, which one has set up.
Stop. Yeah, huh? Look, what difference does it make for you to say, okay, there are functions that, B1 function, there's harmony function, there's do function, there's specific function, there's natural mind function, and there's empathy function, there's intuition function, there's agreement function. And I see all those functions, and I see that there's something that happens that's just not conscious. And I see that that me as an entity does all those things. And so I'm going to tell you a lie about any of it, because I don't believe in that shit. You can't prove to me that the soul exists to begin with. Great. I don't want to. If you're too ignorant to understand that you are your soul, then that's not your soul, that's who you are, really. That's your problem. It's not mine. I don't care if you want to feel that way about it. Do it. How's it working for you? I don't give a damn. You tell me how it's working for you. Is it working okay? If it isn't, then why don't you do something different? It's a thought, for the love of Christ, huh? It's all it is, a thought. Change your fucking mind. And do that in the external reality. Instead of doing the shit thing that you're doing now, do the other thing in the external reality. Instead of being a bitch with people, instead of being a bitch with people, you do something else in the external reality. You take that energy and you say, no, you know what? I can't ever again be there. That thing is over forever. Now you can't go there, then what the fuck are you doing here? I'm sorry?
I can go there.
I know you can go there. That's a thought. That's all it is. And then
all
it's
it
doing
takes.
that thought here in the external reality. That's it. There's nothing else. Here, let me show you how it works. This morning I thought, you know what? Oatmeal cookies. Now there's 200 of them over there in the plate. Wow. That's a thought that went from the internal reality into the external reality. Whoa. You think we can do that with anything else?
Yeah.
With everything else? Oh, wow. What a thought, huh? And that's all the fuck it is a thought, boys and girls. That's it. There's not anything else. What do you want from me? You don't want to do it, don't do it. You expect, you're waiting for me to force you into it? You're gonna be waiting for a while, because I don't give a damn whether you do it or not. If you're too damn stupid to listen and take this stuff and put it to work and the external reality you live in, God help you, because I can't. One does not dissipate what?
All of this pleasure and hedonistic and narcissistic gratification. One of the pitfalls of LSD 25 experience is exactly this. One has the power now to stay in an expanded state of pleasure, as it were, for several hours. This can become quite seductive, and one can become quite lazy and return to the state at every opportunity. However, this is not self-analysis. This state is the ecstasy or bliss or transcendent state sought by the religious proponents of the use of LSD 25 for religious purposes.
This particular statement right here is a slap at Tim Leary from John Lilly, okay? Because that's what Leary tried to say, okay? And so that's Lilly slapping him upside the head, say, hey, this is where you're being dumb, boy. It's still true, though, okay? It's still a true thing. You can get lost in the hedonistic idea of creating pleasure upon pleasure upon pleasure. I only do things because I like it. Well, if you're only doing things because you like it, you're going to die of diabetes. Okay, because you like sugar, right? You like the sweet taste. Oh, okay, good. Then you're going to keep on doing it. Or can you have a few pickles in there too?
Could be destructive.
Exactly. So the statement here is really from that song, right? Good times, bad times, give me some of that. See, you got to have all of it, right? And if you can't live in all of it, you can't visit with people in all of it, then what damn good are you? Huh? If you can't be with somebody who's suffering a death, if you can't say, okay, look, I don't know what you're going through right now, or I've been through the same kind of thing, or whatever that is. When they're going through it, you can say, look, this has got to hurt you. It's got to make you feel bad. It does, because that relationship, that reality that you've held with that person is now gone. It's just been ripped out. It's over. That's the bad part. The good part is that you get to recover now with all that energy. Both things are true at the same time, and it's painful. But eventually you can come out of both of them and learn from both sides of that coin. But you have to understand that you can't indulge in one side or the other. There's a time for grief, there's a time for happiness, right? There's a time to plant, there's a time to sow. There's a time to celebrate, there's a time to mourn. There's a time for everything. We don't want to be stuck with one or the other. What else we got here?
These findings are very similar, if not identical, to those found in classical psychoanalysis. Once repressions and denials are released during analysis, the access of pleasurable activity increases rapidly. The same temptations exist to become a pleasure-seeking organism. However, this tendency too must be analyzed in the classical situation.
Okay, let's just stop for a second here on this one and just look at it with a little more clarity. We all like to live in a non-conflict world, right? Why are you arguing? I don't like all the argument. I don't like to have the conflict around me all the time. This is so terrible. I hate this. Why is it all this conflict? Well, maybe, motherfucker, because you're too goddamn good to resolve anything. What if that were true? You're going to go back and do the same thing over again. Why? Because it was such fun? Well, maybe it was. Maybe it was a lot of fun. Were there consequences that you didn't like? Then why are you going back and doing that? Exactly, because we don't want to look at that thing that's actually true inside of us. We don't want to stop and say, oh, okay, I see. I have a belief in real that was really a goofy belief in real. And because we don't want to change that thought, we continue to be a dumb fuck for years on end. Is that clever or what, huh? Don't you think that's clever? I do. I think it's just, wow, what a good idea. Maybe not, huh? Maybe, just say it, maybe we can do something else.
But it's like if our self-made program had those realities for us,
Of course. Of course it is.
only our self-made program is the one that can find
Because the self-meta programmer is one that writes the belief. Okay, so we have to acknowledge it. Say, okay, that's a belief I've got. Look at that son of a bitch.
when you had something and you can remember where you put that.
It's a lot like that, yeah. But but you can see the effects of it all the time.
Well,
Okay.
I can't see.
Okay, so this afternoon we're talking about Henry, right? Okay. Hey, Elise, you like where this is going? Nope, I don't. Hey, we can't do it like that. This is what has to be.
Mhm.
Hey, look at, this is what has to be. No, he's not gonna do that. So you get back on the phone, you talk to Henry, Henry says, nah, you're right, I can't do that. I'm scared about doing it. I can't do that. You're right, I gotta face this up. No matter what excuse I want to use, what evasion I want to use, it's still, I gotta face myself here. Okay, that's good. That's what we want, right?
Yeah, but I have to make him feel safe again, don't react with.
Okay.
against him.
Yeah, but you can't make him feel safe. You can point out that he is safe. That's all you can do. You can't make him feel a damn thing. You know, I got all kinds of convincing powers and I can't do that for nobody. I can say, look, here's a reason why you should be feeling good about yourself, but that's about the limit. After that, it's out of my control. Don't you think so?
When one compares the classical analytical situation to the solitudinous self-analysis situation, one must be quite aware of what has been sacrificed in each case. The advantage of the external analyst being present, listening to one's producing the material, is that one avoids some of the pitfalls of solitude and that some of the above evasions can be pointed out rapidly before one becomes too involved in them.
Yeah. One of the things that really amazes me about a lot of you guys that are on the call and not on the call even, is that you don't really talk about anything. You don't come around and say, hey, John, you know what? I'm thinking about this thing here. Have you ever seen this before? None of you do that, do you? Except when you're really stressed.
Yeah.
When you're really
need to
stressed, and
talk,
then you
yeah.
say, hey, John, you know, I'm really stressed. And what are you stressed about? I don't know. Okay. And away we go, right? That's what goes on, yeah?
Mhm. Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
yeah.
so the thing is that if you ask, then if you're making mistakes, somebody can point it out before you get too far off into it. So a lot of times you guys will start with an argument, right? You say, but what I think is this is the truth right here. And I said, wait a second, that can't be true because of it. May I talk? I'm done. Yeah, you can talk all you want to because you're talking to yourself because you're not talking with me. That's for damn sure. Okay, go ahead, talk. I'm good. No, I'm not listening because you're not talking with me. You're talking to yourself. Or you're talking to daddy, or you're talking to somebody else, you're not talking to me. So sure, talk. What I'm really interested in is somebody exchanging information or communicating about an issue, because that way they understand the issue and they can do whatever they want to with it from there. But they have to understand the reality of the issue to begin with. So like, for instance, when somebody gets out of the tank and say, oh, you know what? The water was tilted on one side. I kept sliding into the wall on the right side. The water was tilted. You're kidding about that, right? Oh, no, it really was. I kept sliding in the right side. Okay, that's not true. There were waves. No, there weren't any waves. No, there weren't. Yeah, there were waves. Okay, I'm done. There were dragons. And the green one was wiser than the red one, right? See, people talk about shit like that because they perceive it as real. And the dragons are just as strange and just as real as any other thing that you make up for yourself, whether or not you think you're making it up. My dad never loved me. How the fuck would you know? I know because I saw this thing happen. Really? That rules out him ever loving you because you saw that thing happening? Oh, okay, that makes sense. Not. We do that, don't we? Okay, what else we got? On the other hand,
On the other hand, the interpretations of the analyst can be a distraction from pursuing in depth certain aspects of one's own self-analysis. Even solitudinous self-analysis using LSD 25 should be referred back to an external analyst at times when large amounts of powerfully acting unconscious programs have been unearthed. Some programs tend to be acted out after profound solitude and isolation experiences, as well as they do during classical and analysis. This is one of the risks and gambles of this technique. This is why one is cautioned to use subjects who have become sophisticated with regard to psychoanalysis itself.
well, we don't ever have that option actually of using it. We have to deal with the people that we have to deal with, obviously. But it's true, it's still true that you have to have an external analysis, or saying it differently, you have to have a mirror. You can't see the color of your own eyes. Nobody can. I can't, you can't, nobody can. We can't see the color of our own eyes. We have to have a mirror to see that. You can't, in other words, you can't see what you're looking with. And what you're looking with is your programming all of the time. It's what you use to translate, it's what you use to interpret, it's what you use to perceive. Is your programming. And if you have holes in it, you have holes in your perception, you have holes in what you see, you have holes in all those kinds of things. Because you don't have a complete concept there yet. And so you talk to somebody else about it and say, okay, this is the concepts that I have, and it seems like it's not quite complete yet. What am I missing? That will give you a different way of seeing it. Now, do you have to be familiar with the psychoanalytical material to do that? No, you don't. You have to be familiar with what you think and what other people are trying to tell you. That's about it. Anybody can tell you. You can go do this at a bar if you want to. Just go start talking to some other drunk at the bar, and you can get the same effect as talking to a psychoanalyst, because the drunk will be talking to you about the same. No, you know what? You shouldn't be doing that. You've been thinking about it this way. Oh, that works. It doesn't make any difference whether it's right or wrong. It's that you think about it differently. That's it. There's no right and wrongs here. It's just what you want to do. That's what there is. Okay, what else we got during one's classical psychology?
During one's classical psychoanalysis, one begins to modify one's computer and the self-programmer to include many aspects of the methods of computation that one's analyst uses. One accumulates, as it were, a meta-program of self-analysis, which incorporates a good deal of what one's analyst has to offer with regard to one's own computer. In classical psychoanalytic terms, one tends to incorporate many aspects of one's analyst. Once one has a satisfactory functioning internal analyst, namely an analytical metaprogram, for the metaprogram one can be launched on one's own and no longer needs the external analyst to the same degree that one did earlier. One's analysis has proceeded from the analyst outside to the analyst inside.
Well, what a strange idea. Do you know what? I took modern math from Mr. Powers. I was one of the 30 kids in the entire school system that did that. It has served me my entire life because I learned how to think about math the way he learned how to think about math. Even though I don't repeat the things that he said though at that time. I learned how to drive tractor from my father, even though I don't drive tractor like my father. I still had to follow all of his rules until I learned how to drive. I learned how to cut grass from, well, from a guy who did it at a university. And so when I got I got out on my own, I cut grass the way they did there, although I had to change it and alter it, and I used the same techniques, but I did it from the way I had to do it. Not because that what I was doing was right and they were wrong. It was that I had to apply what that I learned from them to what I had to do. The same thing is true about thought. You have to learn from somebody else that can guide you through thinking so that you can do it on your own. But if you think you're doing it on your own without going through the guidance principle, you're kind of fucking yourself. But it's okay. I don't mind. You don't mind fucking yourself? I don't either. Masturbation's a good thing. Check your hand. You got hair on it? If you don't, you're doing fine. If you don't,
One of the pitfalls of trying to be like a self-analyst yourself, you're gonna find yourself like, wait,
you can't see your own, you can't see the color of your own eyes.
Yeah.
You can't see what you're looking with. If you've got evasions in there, you're going to use the evasions to see. Duh. Who knew? You understand?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, what else we got here?
An analogous situation can be seen in the profound isolation in LSD 25 analysis. The foregoing descriptions of the external screens and external projection methods emphasize the relationship between the computer and the external reality. It also emphasized that the computer was using certain parts of itself for transformations and projections of data from the memory into systems simulated by energies coming from the external world. It was pointed out that such projections were easier to do than when these systems were not excited by energies coming from the outside world. The major reason for failure to be able to project on the blank screen or to use the apparatus unexcited by energies coming from the outside world is too great fear of what lies underneath below the levels of awareness in the solitudinous situation. Once a large number of these fears have been analyzed and shown to be particularly childlike and childish, one can proceed to the next stage of isolation or analysis.
Oh my, here we are at the very end of this, and guess what he's saying? He's saying, look, the reality of why it is you have these scaries and these theories and these angries and these want tos and all these other rebellions and so forth that we do is because we're still children. That's it. We haven't really gotten to adulthood quite yet. So we can leave all the baggage from childhood behind anytime we wish to. Anytime that you can say, you know what, I'm a grown adult. I don't act like a kid anymore. Then you can stop acting like a kid, I guess. It's only a thought. It's only a decision that you're gonna stop acting like a child, start acting like a full-grown adult. That's the whole deal. Isn't that awful? That's a terrible, terrible price you have to pay. I'm an adult. I can't handle it. Why do I have to be an adult? Dad never told me. Mother never told me. Why didn't they tell me I had to be an adult? I don't know. Maybe they didn't like you. Maybe they loved the other kids better. I don't know. Maybe they did tell you and you just didn't fucking listen. Who cares? It's a thing that we all do. We can change our mind about it because it's only a thought, boys and girls. Really, that's all it is. It's a simple thought. That's it. And all we're talking about here is we're talking about thoughts that are not conscious. You're run by them. It's how you think, it's how you talk, it's how you walk, it's how you pee, it's how you take a poop, it's how you eat, it's how you do everything. It's done without consciousness. Consciousness records it. That's it. It doesn't decide anything. But don't take my word for it. Do what you want to do. I don't really care. If you can deal with it, deal with it. If you can't, then don't. For the love of God, don't you dare improve your own situation by a thought. I mean, Why would you want to do such a silly ass thing? I mean, really, why would you want to do that? I mean, just think about it and you could think about it differently and think about it differently all of the time would change how you live, how your whole entire life is. Oh, well, damn, don't do that. For heaven's sakes, please don't do that. Suffer through it instead. It's much more fun if you suffer. Don't you think so? I do. Okay, maybe not.
Say fun to do or fun to watch?
See, it's easier to, rather than do all these, make all these mistakes that we're talking about here tonight, it's easier just to think about it differently. How hard can that be? I don't know. Am I permitted to think about things differently? I don't know. Are you? If you are, then think about things differently. If you're not, well, God help you, because I can't.
I kind of wonder if it's like some people try to use like a certain kind of persuasion to get themselves, like trying to make like a new rule to live by. Like,
Do you? Most likely that you have. Okay, then if there's smoke, there's fire. Is what I think. Okay, so a lot of people do that. So what? Okay, does that mean you have to do like everybody else? Oh, come on. Sure you do. Okay, guys, that'll do it for this week. We'll see you next week, same time, same station. Okay, then. Good night, everybody.
Adiós, gracias. Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Close us out.
Thank you. Buenas noches. See you next week.
Okay. See you guys later.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, let's go see what's going on here.